Hi there, it's Bruce Wallace from Dundee and Victoria Chess Club in Bonnie, Scotland. Now I'm continuing this series of games by Jacob Aagaard in his win in the British Championship in 2007, and in this round he was black against Nicholas Pert, who's a Grandmaster from England. I've actually played against this guy in a friendly blitz tournament in Ireland this year. He's a pretty strong player. He's rated about 2,540. So he outgraded Jacob Aagaard here. So let's get on with the game. Nicholas Pert played d4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, c4, b6. Now, at the moment this is sort of a Queen's Indian stroke Nimzo Indian setup. The way it develops, it's a hybrid of both. Jacob Aagaard plays the Nimzo Indian against the d4 opening, but knight f3 usually goes into a Queen's Indian, and Aagaard's produced a DVD on that opening. I think it's called Queen's Indian the Easy Way. Knight c3, bishop b4, bishop g5, bishop b7. This is the sort of the Queen's Indian element. Knight d2, h6, bishop h4, knight c6, e3, knight e7, f3, knight f5, attacking the bishop on h4, bishop f2, and now c5 from black. And at the moment it's a minute advantage to black here. Queen c2, castles, d5, and now Aagaard makes a bold decision here. Can you see what he plays? Aagaard plays the piece sacrifice, knight takes e3. Now this gives a slight advantage to white, but black gets tremendous play for this sacrifice, particularly in terms of pawn play. So bishop takes, then e takes d5, and white's king is also in the centre, so he plays bishop f2, rook e8 check, and then knight e2 to block the check, and now Aagaard wins a pawn. And the recommendation from Shadow here for white's next move is castle queenside, which is what Pert does, and in fact the game is almost absolutely level. b5 from Aagaard, knight c3, bishop c6, and in fact white here has an advantage of 0.47, so approximately half a pawn. But Pert is either frightened of this phalanx of pawns here, this pawn mass here threatening to come down into his kingside, and for some reason decides to give back the exchange piece with knight takes c4, which swings into a massive advantage for black now. Instead, Shredder recommends us one line, knight d to e4, and then knight takes, f takes, queen g5 check, king b1, b takes c3, queen takes c3, rook takes e4, queen c2, rook e5, h4, queen f4, queen a1, rook a to e8, and in fact it is an advantage for black now. So perhaps the piece sacrifice by Aagaard in the opening was justified, and a mark of his inspired play during this championship. However, after bishop c6, white took back the pawn on c4, giving back the piece. So pawn took, and now it's nearly a 2-pawn advantage to black, and Aagaard is pretty ruthless in the way he finishes off the game. Bishop takes c4, then d5, bishop h4, because the d-pawn is pinned, otherwise the queen would drop, queen b8, bishop g3, queen b7, bishop b3, and Black's advantage is mounting steadily here. It's up to nearly 3 pawns now. Rook a to c8, bishop h4, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and nearly a 4 pawn advantage now, and White's position is very precarious here. c4, bishop to a4, exchange of bishops here, then rook to b8, and the threats are mounting decisively here, particularly down this file, coming down here, threatening mate, for example. So numerous threats here. Queen c2, then queen e7, and these files basically are dealing death to White now. The advantage here is over 8 pawns, so it's merely a question of technique for Aagaard now. His advantage is so big. White plays rook d2, then queen a3 check, king d1, d4, c takes d, and then knight d5. And White's got no moves, and resigned here, and it wasn't a premature resignation either. There is in fact really no moves for White. For example, let's look at one try, which is bishop f2. Still it's knight c3 coming in with check, and in order to avoid mate here, White has to take with the queen, which Black can ignore with the move rook b1 check, king to c2, queen takes a2 check, queen b2, queen takes b2 mate. So that bishop move didn't work. If after knight d5 there's another move, rook e2, you've now got knight c3 check again, queen is forced to take, and similar continuation, rook b1, king d2, queen takes a2 check, queen c2, and then rook takes e2 check, king takes, and queen takes check, and it's mate in 6. So a sparkling display there from Aagaard. After White gave back the sacrifice piece, he was finished. Quick overview and summary of the game. It was a Queen's Indian, Nimzo Indian hybrid played by Aagaard here against a strong grandmaster from England, which got into this position after bishop f2, c5, then queen c2, castles, then d5, and Rivka, the search engine looking at this position for quite a while doesn't come up with the move knight takes pawn, but it must have come as a big shock to Pert here, this move, and then taking this move with White's king in the centre, and these pawns becoming very dangerous. Bishop f2, rook e8 check, knight e2, and then this pawn mass looking rather threatening. b5, knight c3, bishop c6, and Pert probably worried about this pawn mass crashing into his queenside position, decided to give back the piece, and then it was a massive advantage to Black, and Black didn't make any mistakes, used his advantage to come in with crushing threats against White's king, and after knight d5 there was nothing White could do, and therefore White resigned. So very good and quick victory there by Aagaard against that Grandmaster, and taking him well on his way to winning that championship. Hope you enjoyed this game, and we'll look at another game from Aagaard shortly.